Hello lovely people, today is gonna be some myth busting time. I do have all of this and I will explain you what you have. Today we'll be testing a myth that says that you cannot run power and signal wires parallel to each other. Now, I call this thing a myth because me personally, I've never ever encountered any problems with noise, engine noise, or alternator wire, whatever you want to call it, running power and signal wires next to each other. With modern SQ systems, it's very rare to have 5-meter long RCAs running from the head unit all the way to the back, because what we do, we use DSPs with digital inputs and we use coax or optical cable, and we don't have that issue. However, even if you make a amp rack with power and signal wires crossing each other, you're always gonna have comments from people that saying, oh, you're gonna have introduced noise, you're gonna have alternator wire buzzing and whatever. So today, finally, I decided once and for all just to bust that myth. So let me explain what I have here and what we're gonna do. The car in general is a noisy environment electrically because it has an engine. Like, for example, my car is a diesel. It's a 10-year-old diesel. It's not a petrol, so it doesn't have any spark plugs or anything. The only kind of noisy thing that can be here is probably the injectors on the very top, and I'm not sure about anything else. But with more modern cars, you will have cables running to the side in the very back that transfer signals to the rear lights, maybe some like pumps and like ABS, whatever. You have loads of cables running to the back, and usually when we run our cables, we run it on the side next to all those cables. So the question is, what can introduce noise to our system? Is it the engine? Is it the side something? Or is it the fact that you're running power parallel to the signal wires? So while doing this experiment, let me actually show you what I have. So I have some power wires, which are very, very long. This is 35mm, very thick and long cables. Then I have some RCAs. One of them is very short, is like 1 foot long, 30 centimeters. The other one, I think this is like 5 meter, which is like what, 15, 16 feet long RCAs, which is typically what you use if you want to connect the head unit with the amplifier that's in the very back. Now, I do have a very sensitive speaker. This is one audio wideband that is very sensitive and can pick up literally any noise. You can hear it, so we'll be testing it with this speaker. I do have a very long, excessively long speaker wire, and I will tell you why that is. Then we have a head unit, which in this case is a Toto S8 Ultra that has RCA outputs. This is exactly what we need for our purpose. And then I have two amplifiers. One of them is very, very old, from the 90s, and the other one is new-ish. It's not brand new. I think it was introduced in 2017, so it is like 7-8 years old, but it's kind of newish. This is a Class D, this is Class AB. Now, with old amplifiers, we know that technology improves quite a lot. So this newer Alpine will have all the noise rejection, but it's almost state-of-the-art in Class D technology. This one, however, is AB. It's very, very old, and it has basically nothing as it used to be in the 90s. So one of the factors in that myth is that old amplifiers are more susceptible to noise compared to the new ones. So that's exactly why I have two amplifiers. To test that, is one of them is going to be more susceptible to noise than the other one. If I want to test the theory that power wire next to the signal wire introduces noise, I need to try to eliminate as many variables as possible. That's why all these wires will be routed outside of the car, not inside, because if they're going to be inside you have, as I mentioned, some other cables. You can see this little snake running there in the back, and the noise can be introduced via these wires and not power and signal. So I want to eliminate that. That's why, as I mentioned, everything is going to be outside. I will literally run the wire, power wire, from the battery right there, and somewhere here on the ground. I'm gonna connect the ground. I found a very nice ground point right there. So this is a factory ground right there. So I'm gonna connect the ground there, and I will be able to play with all these wires. So first, I'm gonna separate everything. I'm gonna make sure that everything is separated like 1/2 meter away or something. Then we're gonna put the signal wire literally parallel to the power wire, and then on top of that we're going to put this long speaker wire in parallel with that as well. So we'll be running everything parallel next to each other. Maybe I'm going to wrap it around, and we will see if that introduces noise. Now obviously the noise will be introduced only when the car is on. When the car is off, there's literally nothing is happening, because what you have with that noise most of the time is going to be alternator whine. So my alternator is right there. This is the thing that makes your power. It goes into the battery, and from battery it goes into the back. So our noise level with the engine off is going to be our reference level, and when I'm going to turn the engine on, we will see if we have any introduction of extra noise, buzzing, alternator whine, and that kind of stuff. So I will be, first of all, listening with this very sensitive speaker, and second of all, I will connect this thing, which is, as you everybody know, I like this thing, Quantasylum QA403 audio analyzer. So I will be measuring at the same time electrical signal that is coming out of the amplifier, and then we will be able to kind of correlate if we're gonna hear any noise. Can we record that noise with the audio analyzer? And at the same time, if we're gonna have some noise introduced electrically but we cannot hear it, that means that is on the level that is not audible but is still there. Now the head unit, I will connect it directly to the amplifier inputs because I want them to share the same ground. Now one thing is to mention that a lot of times the reason why you're having that alternator whine is bad grounds, but not bad grounds that is not a very solid ground, but the difference in potential from the ground point that your head unit has in the front of the car and the ground point that's in the rear where you have your amplifiers. Because when you have resistance that is caused by the actual body, the frame of the car, that resistance will mean that the ground potential is going to be different from the head unit to the rear, because your battery obviously is grounded somewhere in the front. So the more resistance you add going to the back, the bigger the potential between the ground points. When you have a potential between two ground points, you can have ground loops and alternator whine and all that kind of stuff. So one fix that everybody knows is just to ground your head unit at the same point as your amplifier. So basically just run the ground to the amplifier and ground it there. But I want to again eliminate the ground point thing, because the main argument is power wire and signal running in parallel. I will eliminate the whole car, I will eliminate all the other possible scenarios, and we'll have only these factors. So let me connect everything, let me show you how it looks like, and we're gonna have a look at some live data. Okay, I have everything hooked up and connected. So power wire, this is just a breaker in case I want to shut it down. Everything is running away from everything, power, ground. Now at the moment, let me show you kind of live. Head unit, 1 kilohertz tone, speaker, audio analyzer, and this amplifier for now. Then we're going to change to this one. Okay, so this is the floor noise of the actual amplifier. Nothing is connected, just the measuring outputs of the amplifier, and we have 150, everything is down, there's literally no noise, nothing. When I connect the head unit, RCA in, just like that, nothing is playing, it's just this. I'm gonna reset. We have this. All of this is being picked up by the amplifier from the head unit. So again, RCAs on this head unit is kind of okay, but not perfect at all. We have loads of noise, some here. So this is from the amplifier, but the level is still 140. However, if I'm gonna pick up the speaker, I can hear some buzzing already. This is floor noise that's coming from the head unit and not from the amplifier. If, again, let me just try to do this. If I'm gonna plug this out, so there's nothing. Now, I have nothing. I'm gonna try to put this next to the microphone. Yeah, so the speaker is next to the microphone. There's absolutely nothing. Let me plug this RCA in. Let me just double check with my ear. Yeah, so I'm gonna put this one next to the microphone again. I don't know how audible is that, but I'm gonna try to boost it in post. But yes, the noise is some floor noise. It's not revving, it's not buzzing, it's floor noise from the amplifier. If I'm gonna play 1 kilohertz sine tone, Yeah, it's beaming. I'm gonna reset this. This is 1 kilohertz sine tone, 1 harmonic, and this. I'm gonna stop that. So this is my reference. I already took these measurements. There we go. So we have floor noise, amplifier, head unit, 1 kilohertz sine tone. So now I'm gonna try to do it live. I'm gonna have this RTA on. Reset averages. So this is the floor noise of this one. Now let's turn on the car and see how it's doing. Oh my god, let me make some space. Remove this, remove that. Let's turn on the car and see live how things change. Okay. Okay, turn on. There we go. Now let's have a look at the noise. So the engine is on. Let's have a look. So yeah, it's working. This is all live, so excuse me for the noise. Reset. Okay. I'm gonna capture current. And let's have a look at this. So you have to trust me on this. I'm gonna put it next to my ear. Okay, so I can hear some buzzing. So what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna go inside of the car and I'm gonna try to rev it and I'm gonna listen. Okay, so I have literally nothing. No extra noise, no buzzing, no nothing. And it does show here as well. There's no buzzing, no nothing. So now I'm gonna change the RCAs. Okay, so now I connected the long RCA. So you can see this one is going there, all the way up and coming back into the head unit. And this is the noise that we have. So this is the orange one, short RCA with the engine on, and now it's engine off. So it's kind of the same. So now we need to turn the engine on and see if having long RCAs far away from the car is making any difference. If it's not, we're gonna try to put the RCAs closer to the car. Okay. Engine on again. Do we have anything? Let's reset. Exactly the same. Let's do this. Okay, no extra noise. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these RCAs and I'm gonna put them parallel to the power wire. Just like that, like that. I'm gonna wrap it around like that. I'm not gonna zip tie, but there we go. So literally next to the power wire. Let's see if we have any more noise. Reset. No extra noise, exactly the same situation. So just for fun, let me wrap it around. Okay, this is the worst thing that you can potentially do. I wrapped around in the whole length, so this is like probably like 4 or 5 meters of power wire and about 7-8 meters of RCA. Everything is wrapped around. This is the worst that you can do with the RCAs. Let's have a look. Reset. It actually has less noise, less of this, but in general exactly the same. Let's check the speaker. Nothing extra. Let's go inside the car and try to rev it a little bit, see if we have any differences. No, no differences. There is buzzing, but it's the same buzzing as from the actual head unit. So there's no extra buzzing introduced. So now, let's take this. This is a speaker wire, yeah? long wires, and let's do exactly the same. Literally right next to this, put it there. There we go. Everything as parallel as it can be. The only thing that I could do worse is literally just wrap it with tape, but I don't think it's necessary. Let's have a look. Reset. Okay, so now we have a difference indeed. We do have some extra here at about, what's that, 12-13 kilohertz. We do have an extra peak. That level is still minus 107. Let me check the speaker if I can hear it. No, audibly is exactly the same as it was. Let's play a 1 kilohertz sine tone. Okay, tone is playing. Okay, tone is playing. Reset. Okay, it does bounce a little bit. Okay, current. I'm gonna stop this, and again I'm gonna reset. And do current, and let's. Okay, so that's this. Now let me turn off the car because it is a bit loud. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look if we have any differences between these measurements. Okay, so this is comparison of when the engine is off and when everything is wrapped around. So there's a huge difference in noise floor. So now I need to figure out, because I did it kind of in a rush where I wrapped everything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the engine and I'm gonna take the same 1 kilohertz, because in the noise itself, there's not that big of a difference. So this is only the noise. So yes, we have a little bit more here and more peaks here, but the biggest difference is actually when you play 1 kilohertz. It's not in the noise when nothing is playing, it's when the music is playing. Now we want to take the measurements by removing these layers. So I'm going to remove, because now everything is wrapped, so I'm going to remove the speaker wire off. I'm going to take the measurements. Then I'm going to remove the RCAs, but put the speaker wire back on. I'm going to take the measurements. So then we will know which introduces more noise, the actual speaker wires being next to that, or the RCAs being next to the power wires. So let me do that. Okay, I'm slightly confused now because I did the measurements only with the RCAs wrapped and only with the speaker wire wrapped. And I got exactly the same stuff between them. So speaker wire wrapped, see the same. RCA's wrapped only, exactly the same. And all wrapped, exactly the same. So I think when I did this, there was something wrong with maybe a connection somewhere. And when I was moving the wires around, something maybe connected properly. Because now, look, 1 kilohertz, RTA, reset, and you see I have all of this, which is exactly the same like everything. So now nothing, oh my god, it's so annoying, nothing influences anything. So it could be a bad connection somewhere that I had. Maybe one RCA was touching something, but now you can see everything is wrapped as it was, and there's no differences between anything. So maybe when the engine was a bit colder, maybe it has some noise, I don't know, but now it looks everything fine. So now I did all of this with this one. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do exactly the same with a different amplifier. Okay, I tried playing around. I couldn't replicate the measurement that I had when I had the bad, loads of noise and bad measurement. I couldn't replicate it, so I'm just gonna go all in. So this is the old amplifier. This is the cleanest amplifier that I have. Everything is connected the same. This is my fire hazard power wire connection. Ignore that. And as I mentioned, I did the worst thing that possible. Everything wrapped around, and I did it with tape, so everything is gonna be squashed next to each other. So now let's have a look what we have. Oh, shut up. Okay, actually, it's cool. Okay, be there. So, reset. Obviously, it's louder because this amplifier is more sensitive. We have this, I already captured it. It was 0.5. Come on, go back. There we go, reset. 0.05%. So this 0.05 is the head unit RCAs, because this amplifier is like 0.001. This is the cleanest Alpine 3554. So this is old school, sensitive. The gain is only up to 2 volts, so it needs much less voltage, and it should be more susceptible to noise compared to the modern Class D amplifier. But this is the noise that we have with the RCAs connected, minus 140. We have something, but again, if I'm gonna take out the RCA from the amplifier and we're gonna reset again. Oh, okay, so is this one here. Let me just disconnect the laptop on battery. Bam, there we go. Everything goes down to minus 160. So basically this amplifier, this is the amplifier switching frequency, like 18, 19 kilohertz. This is another one, and basically absolutely nothing. Okay, so this is on battery. Let's plug this RCA back in. Oh, see, pop. For some reason, this one gives me, just once. It gives me a pop for some reason. Okay, so now, absolutely worst case scenario. Let's turn the engine and let's see what we have. If we're gonna have with this old amplifier something worse or not. Okay, shut up. Shut up. Let's do this. Okay, on. Let's have a look. So I tried to put this one just to see. How much does it do? 24 amps. Because I was thinking maybe the noise is when the alternator is charging the battery, and after like 5 minutes or so the battery is full and it stops charging. So maybe that, but now we have 25 amps going into the battery, so the alternator is charging. You shut up for now, please. Okay, noise. Same. 140. RCA is in. Let's do with the signal. Reset. It dropped out. Again, go back. Reset. Okay. Current. Okay, stop. Now let's have a look at the noise. Yeah, I hear some buzzing, but it's not engine whine. And if I'm gonna remove the RCA, yeah, everything is gone. Everything is absolutely gone. So let's turn it off and let's summarize it. Okay, your mileage may vary, but based on my testing in my car, if you run all the wires literally taped together, you don't have any extra introduced noise. The biggest noise influx into your system, in my case, it's from the head unit, because the head unit RCAs are not as clean as the amplifier. So again, you saw, if I take out the RCAs, the noise goes down. If I plug it in, the noise slightly goes up, but it's still below any kind of audible threshold. So guys, I don't know. To me, this busts the myth. You cannot have a worse situation than this. This is probably 4 meters of cable that is literally wrapped together, and the RCAs is double back and forth, and the speaker wire again is double back and forth. It might have to do something with the engine. This is, as I mentioned, is a diesel, so it doesn't have any spark plugs. Maybe if you have a petrol with spark plugs, maybe you have some extra noise coming from somewhere. Maybe if you have an old car, maybe it's from there. Maybe your noise coming from a bad ground, because I use the factory ground right there, so you can see that cable and all of these connections. All of this spaghetti over there doesn't introduce absolutely no extra noise. It doesn't matter what amplifier you're using. If it's an old school from the 90s, even if it's brand new from 2020, whatever, you're not gonna have any noise. This is a myth that is annoying as hell to me, and every time I make an amp rack and you have, as I mentioned, literally one wire crossing like that, and people are, oh, you're gonna introduce noise into your system. Really? No. No, this is absolutely not. So, one myth busted. Now, for future videos, if you want me to somehow test any other myths that are very prevalent in car audio, please comment below. I will have a look into this, how I can accomplish that, because I love doing these things. Measuring for me is something very cool, and I love proving people wrong. Sometimes I am wrong myself, I agree, and I would love to prove myself wrong, but so far, whatever I'm doing, if it's damping factor, if it's RCAs, if it's this, so far, I'm right. So happy days. But just very quickly as a summary, let's go through just a few measurements. Okay, this is 1 kilohertz sine tone with a short RCA with a class D, and we have this little noise from the head unit that is coming, yeah? The level, again, minus 97. This is dBr scale, so it depends on the signal level again. This is basically, if you remember, when nothing is wrapped around anything, when all the cables are separate. And this is the worst possible scenario. Old school amplifier, all RCAs wrapped around each other, and we have even less noise for some reason. If I'm gonna remove this is literally less noisy. So probably all of this is coming from the combination of the head unit and class D amplifier, whereas the head unit and class AB amplifier doesn't give me any of that. And again, this is engine on, engine off, exactly the same. This is class D with only RCAs wrapped around. This is with only speaker wire wrapped around. You can see everything is exactly the same and all wrapped around. Everything is exactly the same. Now, this is the noise of when all the cables are totally separated. And as I mentioned, this noise is from the head unit. This is amplifier noise, this is head unit noise. This is when all the cables are wrapped around each other and the engine is on. This one was off, this one is on. Absolutely no difference. And this is with a different amplifier. So let me just remove this one. This is a difference between class D when everything is wrapped and the engine is on, and this is class AB. So you can see it's a little bit less noisy. The only difference is that on AB you have this power supply noise, and if I'm gonna shift this here, class D, you can see the green one is much higher, about 37 kilohertz. So that's the only difference. But as I mentioned, wrapping around your RCAs, running them together does not, and I repeat myself again, it does not introduce any noise. No alternator whine, no buzzing, no nothing. So if you have alternator whine, it's something to do with your grounds or with your car or something else, but it has nothing to do with this. Forget about it. Never ever mention under any of my videos when I'm doing amp racks that you have this. Every time I'm gonna have somebody mentioning that, I'm gonna send them a link to this post, and I would like you to do the same. 12-volt wiring club, you see anybody mentioning anything about noise, send them this, because this is just bloody ridiculous. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.